All right, and we're back. So, guys, we've gotten a ton of awesome feedback with the Collectors series, and today we have somebody that we've heard about each other. We've kind of almost crossed paths, but we never got a chance to meet at any of the shows. And today I'm looking forward to it. So, who we have here is Nick from New England Pieces, and he heard, he was listening to our show with the captain. And what was amazing was after our show with the captain, Kevin, we must have got 30 DMs from people in New England, in the Boston area. And I want to ask you about that, man. You guys stick together. What's in the water there? How are you guys such a tight knit sports card trading community? And of course, welcome to the show, Nick. It's good to have
I
you, man.
appreciate you guys having me on and LukaNation. It's great to be here. We do have a close knit of collectors up here, and the glue to the knit is Tom Brady. Fortunately, isn't here anymore, but it's always great to talk to fellow collectors like Kevin and Mike. They've been around like myself, and it's I think that respect is there for everyone, that that other person on the other side's a good person with good intentions, and they're a wholesome part of the community.
Are you going to the Causeway show this weekend?
I will be set up there. I know Haas is at the same time, so I will have a friend set up with some stuff there as well, because that show was great. It got canceled on the second day, but the Causeway show is a great show ran by Chris at Costa Cards. He puts on a great event anytime, and congrats to him on the event and the new store.
So 2 minutes in, hot take time, because you started it. Nick. So
be nice. Nick's a nice guy, Cage. I can already tell. Be nice to him.
I'll give him he can answer. He can respond, right? So I like to believe that the reason why, and it's not just New England, but we'll use New England collectors and stuff, as the first example of this, right? I like to believe that it's easy to have that great community, that tight-knit, rah-rah, we're all cheerleaders for each other, when all you do is win, right? And that I think that the New England collectors, anybody who's gotten into it in the last decade, has literally done nothing but win, because all they had to do was say, well, our guy is Brady, let's buy Brady. And if you bought Brady, you made money. And everybody made money, and they made money all kind of together, and everybody's happy, rah, 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 and no one's had to face any challenges. You haven't had a Jamarcus Russell draft. You haven't had a situation where, maybe some of you guys put some money in N'Keal Harry or somebody like that. I don't know, what else goes on in New England. But I just think I'm on a kick here with the collectors, that it's luck, right? And you started it with Brady. I just think it's amazing. I'm wondering what happens in a couple of years if the Brady stuff that has made everybody rich stops. The Brady gravy train, he retires.
But Cage, not only New Englanders could buy Brady. It's not like he sprung onto the scene from nowhere.
No, but you know what happens, right? Like, that's their guy. Even when it wasn't in the beginning, like, that's their guy. When he won once and people are like, he's a system quarterback. They're like, fine, but it's our system quarterback. You know what I mean? Like Milwaukee folks who got into Giannis a couple years before everybody else, right? Or Luka's the problem, because obviously Luka's always been crazy. But someone like Brady, who kind of, I don't want to say came out of nowhere, but he was their guy. He's the tie that binds them. And I think there's other examples of this, right? But New York collectors who have been collecting for 10 years, there is not anyone who you could say, all right, that's our guy. Jeter, sure, because Jeter kind of was, but that's like the 90s, and even baseball, hasn't had the explosion that has happened.
Is there any truth to that, Nick? So like 2016, 17, 15, before this boom, just people are buying Brady off the shelf?
I would say that because like the passionate fans in Boston, they're so tied into the teams, and like Cage said, there really isn't anyone to necessarily prospect. So you're not going to get burned at that point. So I don't think people are buying like Tom Brady autographs and rookies because that's the staple. But as of lately, the color and the numbered and the parallels, that's the market that's seeing crazy gains, because it just wasn't really looked at as a spot you wanted to be at before, even albeit be it Tom Brady. You just really didn't see people gravitate towards numbered, and now even relics and patch cards are exploding, where before, if it wasn't really an autograph or a low numbered card or a rookie card, that card is basically passed up on, because you had your few sects of Tom Brady collectors, and everybody else, they weren't really playing in that pool of colors and numbered, and they knew Tom Brady was Tom Brady, but it was also a time where cards weren't appreciating every day, and it was staying flat, and you got the prospect that can come in one week, throw a couple of touchdowns, and you could double your money. But Tom Brady was always Tom Brady doing Tom Brady things, and it's just a good, safe store of value today. But I think the people that have the best high-end cards of him, they're under lock and key, because they have such a tie to the organization and Tom Brady, because of all the memories that he's given us.
Remember, I'm also a Raider fan, so I'm a Tuck Rule survivor. So the venom comes out when we talk about Brady and New England and that kind of stuff. But
well, Nick, we were what, 6, 7 years old. You're 26 now, right?
Yeah, I mean, only reason I remember that game is because my dad had a photo of Vinatieri kicking in that snow. But other than that, I couldn't tell you what else happened in that game besides the Tuck Rule.
I had a large bill from a hotel that will remain to be unnamed in Atlantic City for the damage I caused to the room.
Is that true?
That happened. Oh, yeah.
You were in Atlantic City for the game?
Yeah.
With who?
I was a younger man. Several people. It was one of those.
Men or women?
Both.
Go
Some
Cage.
were professionals, some were not.
I didn't know you left the house. This is my favorite Tom Brady card.
I'm going to be 45 years old tomorrow. This
Look at that
is like
exquisite
12.
patch Brady.
Those are nice cards.
Are there any? There's no autos of this, right?
No, as far as upper deck autos, he had a pretty limited. He signed pretty limited amount. Most of them are like 03 or 04. The stuff you'll find upper deck for Brady is basically patches.
Game used, right?
Yep, those are game used as well. And I actually bought that card only a month ago, and that card was sitting on eBay for only $700. And I just think, even though they're patch cards, and people, if it's not game worn or if it's player worn, they got bad ties to it. But when you get a chance to find a premium set like Exquisite and the best of the best of Tom Brady, that's just a card that you just got to put away.
Another card I liked that you had, and this is how the collector series go. It's going to go all over the place. Honestly, I don't care. I kind of enjoy it. This was kind of cool, Cage. 2015 Topps Chrome of Tom Brady. Is this the last year Topps Chrome was doing NFL?
Yes, that's with the Jameis Winston rookie year. Those cards that's probably the least attractive year for Topps Chrome, between that and 2014. But when you have the first black refractor PSA 10 going for a crazy amount of money, and the pop count's already low as it is, those are just safe values. Even a PSA 9, or I wouldn't say 8, but PSA 9 of any refractor of Tom Brady are just great cards to put away.
I don't own a Tom Brady card. That's not true. I own one Tom Brady card. I bought one.
Prism,
Tom Brady
2012.
No, you know me. We talk about this. I bucked the trend, man. I should be making bank. I should have the playoff contenders rookie. I should have the SP Authentic rookie. I should have the Bowman Chrome.
Yeah.
No, I bought the metal, just a Fleer metal base.
Yep.
But it's
SGC gold label though.
Yes, the only one SGC gold label. So it's got a little narrative, a little story to it.
Yeah.
So I do.
I wanted to bring this up yesterday with MC Sports Cards, but what I'm hearing with you, and we talked a little bit backstage, a lot of us rookies, I'll consider myself a rookie, try to time the market. I jump out of this NFT, I'm into this NFT, I'm out of this card, I'm in this card, I'm trying to time the market. But Nick, you're in that small minority that, you were just in the market since you were 10 years old. You've stayed in the market for 16 years, where so many people, you've heard they've collected from 10 to, 14 years old. Then they took a break from 14 to 22. Then they picked up again, and you kind of miss out on a lot of the gains. So if you could take me back, what's your origin story? How did you get into collecting cards?
So I know the first packs I opened were 2004 Topps Traded Baseball. I grew up playing baseball and basketball, but for some reason, just always loved baseball for opening packs. So 405, I'd open packs. My parents, they would get me retail stuff. But I would work, I would do like the chores, I would do sweeping for my dad's small business, and they made me work for it to get the retail stuff. So I started off there, and then my cousin also collected, and he told me we had a card store just 2 blocks down from our house, because me and my cousin lived basically on the same street. So we had a card store close to our house, and I was almost there at least once a week and going through relic boxes, auto boxes, just finding cool relic cards and auto cards, just cards I thought were cool because that's what I gravitated towards originally. And then in about 2010, I started to just buy higher end cards. And I remember the first time buying a higher end card, I called my dad, and it was the Steven Strasburg Bowman Chrome Auto Redemption. And that was for about like $150. And to me back then, I was like 15, and I'm going to spend $100 on a card or $150, then I had to justify to my dad, is this a good purchase? Should I do this? And I bought the card, I redeemed it, and I graded it, and I sold it, and I made, I think, $100. So that's like my first fond memory of doing a transaction. Then after that, I mainly got into Bowman Chrome autos for baseball, and it wasn't until about 2016 when the Celtics drafted Jaylen Brown that I really started buying more basketball cards, because the Celtics, they had the big three, and those guys were solidified stars and all-world talent. And Jaylen Brown was like the real first-time prospect in Boston for an athlete that had crazy talent, and he was a great guy off the court, from what I read, and he still is. So then basically I started to grade a lot more than I usually did. In high school, I did cards. I sent them off to Beckett. I would check in my computer break. I'd see if my grades popped. And
were you making good money? Like were the kids at school like, yo, where are you getting this change from? Or were you that's keeping it hush hush?
I had a few friends, like they wanted like to make $50 or $100. Hey, can you help me with this? Do you think I should buy a card? Can you maybe buy a card for me? And you handle it and make a little and pay me back the rest, because we're just in high school. And I remember my first Beckett order in 2013 of Albert Almora Chrome Autos and Taiwan Walker, all those guys that were on the top of the prospect chain, and today they're just average daily ball players. So Beckett was the thing to go to in 2013. And then until recently in 2017, it was all PSA and, get all those bulk orders out. And I mainly stuck with that ever since 2017 or so, just try and pump out bulk orders and, use those cards as a vehicle to buy cards that I want to personally keep, that I can just put away and appreciate them, and I don't have any means or needs to sell those at all.
Can I ask, this is for both of you guys, what flipped the script? What happened that Beckett kind of gave up control and PSA took over? I'll go to you first, Nick, and then Cage. Like, do you have a theory as to why that happened?
So Beckett was still reasonably priced, and PSA was about $8 back then for bulk value, and Beckett, you would say about $15 for a 30-day turnaround, and it was about 30 days. I would say the main catalyst was basically when Gary came in the market, and more people, they understood that a 10 is a 10 out of 10, but a 9.5 leaves some slightly margin for it to not be perfect. So when people knew they could get a 10, that means that card is the best it could get from that company. So they're already buying the premium grade of that card, so that they put the premium on that price because they could either buy it as the best card, or they can use it as a selling point that this is the top tier grade from any grading company for that particular card.
I remember selling some of the when I came back in, selling some of my bulk subs to Gary, and him asking questions about it. Why PSA? how do you know what it's going to grade? You obviously got a lot of great grades. Like, what are you doing with these? You just have an eye for it, or is it just kind of like a like a bulk thing where if you do enough, you're going to get enough in a good grade? And I remember talking to him about it. So obviously, I picked PSA before Gary really went pretty crazy in it. And I jumped in a little bit before he was at the National. I think probably 2017. I started grading heavily with PSA, and it's funny, Nick, you hit the nail on the head. What my thought was at the time, Andrew, when I got back into it, I started grading basically, everything I get my hands on, because I started writing on the wall about this stuff coming back, was new people coming in would find PSA easier. The 1 through 10, and the 10 being a 10. We weren't going to get to the whole a 10's not a 10.
Did you have any 10s with you in Atlantic City when you were watching the playoff game? Were there any 10s there? Or were they 9.5s?
They were Atlantic City 10s. They were like Vegas 8.5s probably. They were Atlantic City 10s.
Sorry. I digress.
So, dude, I think my wife was with me. I don't think we were married at the time. Yeah, my wife was with me. We weren't married at the time. But but in any event, the ease of 1 through 10, and for whatever reason, I mean, I had graded with Beckett. I had a Beckett account. I mean, it's funny. I was doing also the Bowman 2010, with Strasburg, the Bryce Harper under 18 cards and the Bowman ones. I mean, I have some of them still in my collection from grading them myself, 195 away from a 10 kind of, I also remember when I did UFC cards in 2010, 2011, 2012, it was all BGS. It was all just sent to the BGS. And it was mostly because autos were the thing, right? And when I came back and it wasn't all about autos, and I didn't really care about the subgrades, PSA just made all the sense in the world. I mean, that was, there wasn't a, I'd love.
Did people care about the auto grade?
Well, I wasn't grading autos. That's the thing. I think there was like a shift too. People were doing, people were doing Bowman Chrome autos, and you had that, here's the card grade and here's the auto grade.
Right.
For a while there, it shifted to just, like base cards and base prism cards and, like numbered cards and whatnot. You didn't really need that extra layer that Beckett was giving you with the autos. I mean, it may swing back. Who knows? Like I said, I'd love to give a watershed moment. I'd love to say, okay, you know what? In June of 2017, Beckett raised the prices. They were triple what PSA was. There wasn't some like explosive event like that. It just PSA made sense.
Right, and even before the boom, both companies would kind of shift, I guess, the demand back to the other company because they were getting so overwhelmed with orders. And I remember times in like 2015 or 2017, Beckett didn't have enough plastic, and they had to basically do a mini shutdown, or they had to cap submission holders to a certain amount of cards because they just didn't have enough plastic. So things like that can also shift the demand to the other side, and they kind of played that game for a good amount of time between the two companies as well.
So collectors listening to you who want to emulate you, Nick, the kids in high school who should have copied you back then, the people who are still in this for a year, 2 years, and they're listening to your story, they hear a common thread, which is you buy, you grade, you flip, you build your stack, you buy, you grade, you have a bigger stack, you turn that stack into buying more, you grade, you flip. Well, PSA has been closed now for 7 months. What do you tell people to do? What have you been doing?
That's one of the most unfortunate things, that people, they don't have that opportunity to color up and make those moves. So basically you could flip wax and packs and all that stuff and do bots and all that thing. If that's your thing, then go for it. I wouldn't suggest it. But mainly I would say find cards, find sets of guys that you have a particular belief in, and buy those cards, buy those sets. Like 2012 Prism, I love 2012 Prism basketball, and I personally love that set. So you can't really grade that stuff right now, but if you're at a card show and you see somebody with 2003 Topps Chrome refractors, there's tons of people out there trying to make a complete set of anyone in that year. So there's always going to be demand for that kind of a set, because people, they find iconic cards like the LeBron. You have the whole class of LeBron, Wade, Melo, Bosh. You can complete that whole set, but you do need the other guys. You need the Penny Hardaway and the Suns. You need the KG on Timberwolves to have that set. And you can find those cards in cheaper $5-10 bins and make your margins there, albeit they're small transactions. But if you're kind of stuck to not to be able to grade, find little inefficiencies like that to get your stack bigger.
All right, so it's more of a hustle. Let's go to the shows, find those smaller end things that you know there's going to be people looking for, but they can't be at that show. Grab those, put them online, put them on eBay. This way you can actually maximize
right, and
the
then
money.
You can also build up your own little network. That's one of the things I'm most proud of, is making a network and a brand. And I could pick up a card, and I know this person really likes this player or set, and I can kind of be the middleman to facilitate that for them.
Nick, it's an underrated thing, man. And one of the things, the expansion of the hobby, right, where we have, you can put a card up on eBay and you never know who's going to get it, right? It could be in Asia, it could be wherever it is it goes, right? But I think one of the things that we're probably seeing with PSA shutdown and without the flipping is the network is important. So I'll just a quick little tidbit for the listeners. You might have heard me talk about this, but why I loved UFC cards so much when I did them was I knew going in that I was going to make money no matter what I broke in the boxes. Like normally you break and you're not going to do it.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, I bought cases and I already knew going in every Nick Diaz, here's the Diaz collector. Every Nate Diaz, here's the Diaz collector. If I happen to get a Connor, whoa, I'm going to make some real money. It's red panties night, right? but not. This guy likes Anderson Silva. This guy wants the John Jones. This guy wants Stipe Miocic before he even became anything. That was later on. But I already knew, okay, these are going to this guy. You had that laid out because you had that network. You knew, hey, I pick up this card. I know 3 people who collect that person. I could probably sell it to that person. And you're not going to kill them, but you can still make a little bit of money because you picked it up and blah, 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 right? You leave it on the phone.
It's a great way to form initial connections because you can really help people out just by you're already at a show, you're already trying to do your own thing, and you know that person's heavily invested in player X, and you think that person could really like that card, and you'll really help them out, and they'll be looking out for you too. And it goes beyond just cards. It's a great friendship to start.
Have any of your friends come into the hobby in the last 1, 2, 3 years? You've recruited them in?
I've definitely tried. I had a couple of friends grade cards. I helped them grade them through PSA. I've been helping my brother-in-law help me with shows and the setup and pack up and trying to teach. A lot of people tell me I could always be a teacher because I'm good at explaining things and teaching things. So I think it's a good thing for the hobby that the more people in, the better. The bigger the pie is, the better for everyone. So anytime you can even spread awareness and get because the new people are the ones that keep the wagon going. So anytime
I can see it now, though. The next person who tells Nick he could be a teacher, he's like, you can't buy black refractors on a teaching salary. Get that out of here.
No.
Well, it's incredible, Cage. Kevin, the captain, he's a basketball coach. He teaches gym class, 7-figure collection. The guy who helped me, Gem City Sports Guard, Rick Shin, he's a gym teacher. I think he quit his job because of his collection. It's amazing. It really is amazing that in 2020, 2021, you could have been a teacher and also had this kind of side business that allowed you to transition out. It's incredible.
Right. And I think it's great that more people have a voice now. And I was just thinking the other day that pre-2018, there really wasn't any card content being made. And you would just see maybe people's mail days or stuff like that on YouTube. And that's as far as it went.
I'm going to call out a few content creators. Guys, if you have a backing, if people that are working for you have full-time salaries, your standard of what content should be needs to be higher. I'm sorry. I'm kind of fed up with some of the shit people are posting. And it comes from the businesses that have full-time salaried employees working on these brands. So, yes, there's more content, but hey, which is a better buy, this auto or this base card? They're not apples to apples. You just threw something up on a design and rant over.
Right. I think that it's not that it's. I think mostly all content is good content because it's created, and anytime someone wants to create something and share something, that's good. But the way people are led on is sometimes the wrong way, and that's when it gets too dicey, where I don't want people to read or see something and think that, you know, they should follow that same path, because a lot of it is you got to do your own research and do your own reading, and you know, you can always converse with everybody and share your opinions, but at the end of the day, it's got to be a decision that fits within your means and, you know, fits within what you want to do.
Nick, I hate the new content, and here's why. I hate that we have to do these shows, because as a New Yorker, not exactly a New York sports fan, but as a New Yorker, Raider fan, as a New Yorker, I'm supposed to hate the Boston people. I'm a Yankee fan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Red Sox have basically dominated us for the last 2 decades. Any Yankee fan who talks smack to the Red Sox fans now should should turn their cards in now, because I mean, the Red Sox have basically owned us. Every time there's an elimination game, you take care of us. Regular season, we can do all right, but you know, you guys have been very successful the last 2 decades, and yet the New Yorkers want to talk smack. Here's the thing: doing this content, doing this podcast, I've met this past week 3 of the nicest New Englanders in the world. I mean, just basically people. The common tie is you guys have all been successful because you're taking the time to look out for the next you.
Right.
And that can't be overstated, man. I mean, like, just to hear you talk, like I like content because it's going to educate the next person, and we have to grow the pie. And, you know, I'm at a show and I'm doing my own thing, but I'm looking for the next. There's a reason why folks like you have succeeded in this. And it's the network you've built. But why you've built the network is because you're not looking to screw people over. Sure, right. It might have been faster for you to get to the 7 figures, maybe a month or 2 quicker if you would have screwed people over and got the margins a little bit better, and maybe you would have, you know, got a couple thousand here or there. But instead, you're playing the long game.
Right, and I always wanted to be the person that wasn't there. There really wasn't anyone really look up in the card community and say, like, this person's doing everything right. And I just think Ryan, Card Collector 2, does a great job of that. And, you know, I've seen him at shows and all the kids love him, and, you know, he creates great content, and, you know, he's out there, he's doing the work, he's putting in all his effort, and I try and do
bad judgment. His bad judgment. I mean, he's on the podcast with 2 guys I would never have selected to be the partners. I mean, he's exhibited bad judgment. What do you think, Andrew? I think Ryan Clark Collector 2 has shown bad judgment in who he selected as to be partners with on a podcast.
I think if he could go back, he would choose a better crew for sure. Yeah, but you can't go back and renege on your team.
We love those guys. We're just playing Nick. We love those guys.
I could love them and still think that they're, you know, JV players when there's varsity players. They could be the best guys in the world. We're all given a level of talent that we can work on. I'm learning how to box. There's guys out there they can do it forever. My arms hurt after like a half a minute. So it's like we all come into it at a different level.
Boxer's cardio is crazy stuff. Well, speaking of which, that's it. So you got Brady, right? How about some losses, right? Because you spend a half an hour and people listening to this are like, God damn it, this Nick from New England's got a leprechaun stuck up his ass here. He just every move is right. So, you know, did you put money in like Robert Williams this past year and all the RPAs? You know, did you bet on? I'm trying to think, like Matt Castle. I mean, like what we have something, you know, something that you can give, like that you're human.
Yeah. So I've always liked to rip stuff, and I wouldn't say that's like my vice, but I spend a lot of money ripping and joining breaks, and I wish that I would have stopped earlier. I mean, I do because I want. Right. I do it to support my local card store, it's a great store. That's the main reason why I do it. But, you know, it's kind of like throwing money out the window, especially now, because if you don't hit something big, you're kind of, do I auction it on eBay or do I send it to Star Stock or check on my cards to just piece off there? But I bought a few like prospects when I first started. Most of my mistakes were when I first started, because they really shaped how the way I look at buying stuff today. I really probably shouldn't have bought Patriots wide receivers from the years like 2007 to 2012, when every receiver that they drafted was not good at all. They just had a terrible track record looking back on that. I also would say some prospecting is kind of like the devil in cards, where you're more often than not, you're going to get burnt. You can prospect, and it's tougher now because the cost of entry is so much higher. But you can find other ways of prospecting and going through dollars, 10, 5, $1 bins and prospect that way and build stuff up like that. And you can build a massive Jordan Poole collection and sell it during the preseason. So
now everyone's going to jump on Jordan Poole. This thing with Jordan Poole is going to be last year's Tyler Hero. I've told people about Jordan Poole 6 months ago. Now he's going to blow up in preseason, and then people are going to realize he's not that great when it comes to playing against the best players in the world. But I like Jordan Poole a lot. You know what you do? And tell me if this is right or wrong. You invest in every sport. I think
Right.
You have a little bit of baseball, you have a little bit of basketball, you have a little hockey, you have some soccer, you have Marvel. That's also a form of prospecting too, right? Because there's only so many players in the NBA that could pan out. But there are different leagues and different sports. So is that a form of prospecting?
I would say so, because when you're first starting in like those markets where you're kind of like a fish out of water looking which direction to go to. When I first started soccer early last year in February, I asked a friend that was a soccer fan that I could totally trust, and just give me like a basis to work off of, and I can take it from there and watch videos and commentary and kind of develop my own thesis on guys. So based off of that right there, that is prospecting, because you're starting in a whole new league that you don't know nothing of, other than there's demand for it. And we see that with F1, and it's going to be interesting to see what kind of next ancillary sport that comes up in the market, because when F1 first came out, that was, it's a nice product. The Dynasty was a great product, but when the Chrome first came out, it's a nice product, Topps Chrome. Everybody was dogging on it because it's like racing and NASCAR, and they just didn't see like the view in that the global demand for the F1 product in its own, regardless of the cards. What I'm sure everybody, if they could go back in time, buy a whole bunch of more different color or even sealed wax that more than doubled, more than likely tripled or quadrupled, because as more people open that, the supply is just, they didn't make enough of it as it is.
You mentioned you use Star Stock. What else? Like Cage and I have talked about this. You have a lot of raw cards, but there really isn't a great marketplace to buy and sell raw cards anymore. It's like raw is just like kind of like put off to the side. It's not even an asset class. What do you think about that? You also have, I think, a little bit of my slabs. It seems like you diversify with which platforms you sell on through. Talk to people about that. Maybe share how you think about that.
So basically, when you could grade and buy, grade, flip, that's what I did for a good 8 months last year. I would really go hard on that and send about 600 cards a month, just buying from Check Out My Cards and Star Stock and finding the better copies, weeding out the less desired copies. And especially now, if you get a 9 or a 10, that's okay. And as long as you're winning 51% of the time, you're still winning. It's especially now harder. But if you can go on Star Stock and ComC and buy those cards I wouldn't necessarily say base, but find that color, the silver or the mosaic reflective of the guy that you like, and buy a couple. You don't even have to get them shipped. You can just keep them there, and worst comes to worst, you sell them at a little loss, but then you learn and you find the next guy. And those cards they're going to be out there on the marketplace. So that's the good thing. And especially when you get to buy in volume, you get to find cards that you can sweep up all at once, so that you kind of get a little nest egg of certain players and color or prism that it'd be hard to amass on eBay from the beginning, because eBay sellers, more often than not, you're not going to find lots of gradable cards. So I think that ComC and Star Stock, they have those types of cards because they do breaks and they send them right there. And that's a good opportunity to find copies of cards that aren't necessarily cherry picked.
You're on mute, Cage.
I think those things open up when PSA opens back up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and when there's a PSA bulk. So those things were great. I mean, like you talk about 2012 Prism. One of the big come ups that I had was 2012 Prism baseball, which a lot of people don't like because it's not licensed. But I graded every Griffey and Jeter that I could find. I paid $1 per Griffey and $2 per Jeter max. And I went on eBay one day and basically bought like 500 of them, like everyone I could find. But I had to buy them from 412 different sellers. You know, and pay shipping and all that other stuff. You know, some of them had 20, which I was like, wow. But if you Star Stock now, not that particular card, but Star Stock, Slab, Com C, you could buy those all. There you go, a lot of 50 of them, because it's not all from one person. It's all a bunch in one particular location. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, you could definitely sweep up, and now you are a shareholder in Jordan Poole, and you can just keep it right there, right? Right. He has that big game. I can't wait for Tyler Hero and Jordan Poole to play against each other. Andrew's head might explode. It's gonna be awesome.
Tyler Hero was my bubble prospect, and I told people about him last August 2020. And I told people about Jordan Poole. Yeah, Jordan Poole's good, man. I like it. And they beat the Lakers last night without Curry, without Dre. I know it's just preseason, but I'd love to see the Lakers do terrible.
Well, they got the MVP, Anthony Davis.
Oh, my God. That was hilarious. I'm going to hit him up because I have an Anthony Davis card to sell.
Nice. It's good stuff.
I know you have a Contenders auto. What's your Mount Rushmore? What's like your top 4 cards in your collection?
So I would say that because that Brady, it's a Contender, so that's definitely up there. I have, so I wouldn't necessarily say I have like high value cards as my top 4, because I would say like I have like sentimental ones. I have cards that I kept when I was like my first relic card or stuff like that. That I make sure I kept that card and I didn't send it to check on my cards. A decade.
Well, I mean, honestly, that exquisite Brady you have is pretty cool because it's game worn. It's like it's a one patch, but it's kind of cut into 4 pieces, and it's you got a good deal. Sometimes the best deal is actually the one that you love the most. So sorry to cut you off, but
I would say I have a LeBron rookie auto 9.5 SP signature edition, and then for third, I know Cage likes Carmelo, and over the COVID time, I found an old picture of me in a Carmelo jersey when I was a kid on picture day. So I was like, my parents must have really known that I liked Carmelo so much for me to wear it on picture day. So I bought an exquisite limited logos 9.5 patch auto. So that card's that has like sentimental ties to me. That's a card that I want to keep for myself because it just takes me back to the time. Like I see that picture and like I must have been so happy that day to have his jersey on. That card just means so much more to me than some other cards.
Yeah, jerseys are huge back then. Now I sent my kid to school 2 years ago with the Gardner Minshew jersey on.
This is what a beautiful card design looks like. Just if you guys are out there watching from manufacturers.
That's gorgeous.
It's a pretty card. All right. And I mean, I told you I love your Precious Metal Gems Marvel. I think that Precious Metal Gems and Marvel they seem like they go together. They feel like peanut butter and jelly. I don't know if that's how people feel.
I think they're like the equivalent of like the comics for cards, because as we see the prices in comics go up and the first appearance of so and so goes up, maybe the first appearance on a Marvel PMG goes up. And I know they have many years of them, but still they're rare in quantity as it is. And the people that do hold them, they were collectors to begin with. I was reading a forum on Blowout Cards about a guy, he had a whole green set, and people were like, oh, you'll be lucky if you get like $300 in a few years. And the guy kept it. And I know at least last month the Thanos sold for $25,000 of green PMG. So they're great cards, and I think the Marvel base is so much more vast than I'm sure a lot of card collectors are Marvel fans. So it's a good blend for people in the community to get involved and have a piece of their favorite Marvel character, because there's so many.
Cage, we need one of these. We need a Luka or a LeBron one of these.
There's a Luka Tiger up for auction right now.
Is that right? Can we buy that with our Tiger Fund NFT?
It's sell for a lot of money. It's sell for a lot of money. A tiger stripe.
You're kind of a big deal around these parts.
Yeah. Listen, think of what a big deal I would be if I lived in Boston for the last decade. I'd be a big baller.
Or you didn't invest in Drew. You invested in Boston players. You just like the name Drew.
Yeah, man. Well,
Drew Bledsoe and Drew
I
as a
have more
co-host.
Drew Bledsoe cards than anybody in the history of the world. Yeah, I'm the only person who saved all the cards from when I collected as a kid, and it's worthless. It's all worthless.
Right.
It's all worthless. Nothing. Nothing value at all.
Tomorrow's so people are going to be listening to this Wednesday to Thursday. Tomorrow is the big Baba Ganoush's birthday, a big 4-0. So I was going to get you
birthday.
A big 4-5. Thank you, Nick. Appreciate that. The big 4-5. 45 years old.
Nick, what you mentioned? You had a family business. What's the family business, and how was I come from a small business. How was everything the last year with what you guys do?
They make Tom Brady signs, so people could hang them on their houses and their cars.
So my dad, he's a contractor. He used to paint the field for the Patriots, their old stadium. So there's a little tie. That was pre-Tom Brady, but my dad's a contractor, and I think I'm grateful for that because he instilled in me as a young kid different principles and practices, how to live your life and see things to the fullest. And you got to work for things; they're not just given to you. And that was, I think it's great that my dad was there for me and pushing me in the right direction. And as of late, contracting is the prices of all the commodities are up and down. They're all crazy, but unfortunately other people in different sectors had a tough time last year, and it was tough to go through. I know a couple of people in the card community that I talked to, they lost their life from COVID, and I just wish them and their families the best because it was tough, and cards did a lot for a lot of people. They kept people engaged, and it was kind of an escape from the media headlines because that was dominating everything for every day. And cards were going up, and those dominating headlines were great for us, but in the real world, everybody knew what was going on. And it was a weird dichotomy of the world's going through something that's terrible, and the card community is skyrocketing.
It's an interesting perspective, and it's one that I love to make money, right? I'm a competitor, but just little conversations like this remind me that we've had a lot of success in the last year, like you mentioned, the card hobby. And oftentimes we do get caught up in, either the drama or what's the next card I'm going to buy that makes me $1 million. Right. And maybe we should reframe to be how can we give back, or I only control myself. How can I give back with all of the good stuff that's happened to me? Give back to people who, like you mentioned, it hasn't been an easy year. People have lost businesses, people have gotten sick, people have lost family members. So if there's one takeaway from this episode, and there's many, it's to, when you're feeling helpless, be helpful. The card community has had it good. We have had it very good. Even with this little PSA shutdown, prices are a little lower than they were 3 months ago. Yeah, well, they're still infinitely higher than they were, 18 months ago. So I appreciate that reminder.
Right. And I think a good thing in the card community is that a lot of people, they pay it forward. So it's great that there's a lot of people in this space that they know where they came from, and they see that other person on the other side working towards becoming a better person. And there's a lot of people that are always there for that other collector and helping them become a better version of themselves, even if it doesn't have anything to do with cards. I've seen a lot of generosity, and a lot of people, they're very genuine, and it just isn't all about cards at the end of the day.
Love it.
Do you do this full time?
I do not. I do stocks on Wall Street. Got my own money that I manage, and then I do cards. I would say it's
Wall Street. You run Wall Street Bets on Reddit.
No, I just visited. Luckily I've just visited a few times, but it's great that cards kind of create because I love autonomy, that I can choose what I want to do. I know Mike touched on it, that you don't want to be sorting $20 cards all day, and you can do different, you can still be in the card space and do a different thing every day and never get bored or tired of it.
I ask this of everyone, so we'll wrap with this. 26 years old, if you could pick the perfect job or perfect position in the hobby for you, head of Golden, head of PSA, head of Fanatics or Panini, whatever it is, where do you see yourself? Or like, what position would you want to have?
I would say, I kind of would say two. If I couldn't be, because I like to buy stuff like everybody. We're all consumers. I like to be somebody's personal card buyer. That would be good. Use somebody else's funds to buy cards and let them have the cards. But outside of that, I'd say like just to be like a community leader, in the sense that just bringing people together and having like events that mean stuff to people. That you can have cards and other things tied into that. It just doesn't start and stop with cards. So
if we were creating a position for you, Nick, like in the school, I would say like Dean of Incoming Students.
Right.
So incoming collectors, you know what I mean? Like people who are coming in and you want to make sure that they're here to stay, whether it's through events, introducing them to other people in the hobby that might allow them to, get a leg up and or, get the right first step in their journey. I mean, clearly you put a value on that, and it's good for our folks to hear that too. Because,
right.
We got a lot of.
Even as far as network building, like when I came out of college, I didn't really take that seriously, and as I've seen it through cards, that the network effect of knowing people and putting people in the right position, I think that's something I would want to provide to people, as being a good network, something with building out a network for collectors.
I haven't said this in a while, but I think I said this when we had Darren Herman on, right? Like in another life, getting, an interview or meeting somebody who works for Bain Capital or McKinsey is extremely difficult. But in the card community, what these guys love, right? And you could buy them a $3 card and write a little thank you note or write a little note to them. That's so impressionable. And that's what networking is, so it's really interesting. Like you mentioned, you're coming out of college, you're going into college, or you don't want to go to college because it's stupid and it's expensive. You can network with so many, 6 and 7 millionaires and multimillionaires just by going to their Instagram and seeing, oh, this guy's a huge Allen Iverson fan, or this guy's a huge Eli Manning fan, finding the card that they love, sending them that card, writing a thank you note, and you might get a meeting that you would have never had before. And it really is the card community that could open those doors. So you're absolutely right. Where can people find you, Nick?
I'm on Instagram, TikTok, as NewEnglandPieces. I made some YouTube content in the past, but I generally like to just throw out pictures and make videos that I don't really tell people what to do. I like showing them what I do. So that's where I mainly stay, is at TikTok and Instagram at NewEnglandPieces.
I love it.
Thanks,
Cage,
Nick.
any final words?
Nah, man, this was awesome. The collector series is a lot of fun, man. You get to hear about everybody's journey, and everybody's got a different way of doing it. But I love, we don't talk to a lot of these folks beforehand, but I love that, the common thread is, realizing that it's a community, realizing that it's you're not the first one here, you won't be the last one. We succeed as more people come in and don't run away screaming that we screwed them over in their first deal. So I love hearing that stuff, man. It's a mature way of dealing with, dealing with the community and the hobby. So thank you.
I love the
pleasure being on. I greatly appreciate it, and getting to share my story and talk with you guys. And hopefully people took stuff from this conversation that they can apply to their own collecting.
If you go into the show this weekend, look for New England Pieces at the Boston show. And I think he's also setting up at the Hofstra show, right?
Yep, I will have a friend with a table there. So I'll be in 2 places at once.
Beautiful. That's
and
it.
What makes our show different is that we can do that, Cage, right? We can do a collector series and bring on people like this who have stories, and they've been collecting for 16 years. We could have 52 Q&As. We could do it daily, give our daily plays. We have so much content out there, guys. So make sure to smash that like and subscribe button. We haven't done that in a while. Smash. Nick, you're the man. I've heard amazing things, and I'm glad we actually met, because you always see these Instagram profiles. You don't know who's behind them.
Right.
So
right.
Shout out to you guys. Give New England Pieces a follow, and I'm sure a lot of you from our community will be at the Costa show this weekend. So say what's up.